Okay, for this podcast, we're going to be mostly focusing on Three Houses, even though we're predominantly about FEH. At least so far, Three Houses is going to be on everyone's minds, and because, it's a Fire Emblem game that we're playing, and then that's the biggest Fire Emblem game coming out, we'll go start with that one. So we'll have some introductions first, starting with TGP, and then I'll be going last.
Hello, my name is ThyGamePlaya, or TGP for short, and I've only really played the Telly series a little bit of Echoes.
Yeah.
And that's about all I've really played. And obviously, if you know me, my favorite character is indeed Nephany. And yeah, that's about it.
Alright, so I'm Septonian, though most of you around the Nimdom or otherwise would probably know me under Legion. I have been playing some of the more modern Fire Emblem games like Awakening and Fates, but I have gone back to ones like Sacred Stones, and I fervently have played Heroes for a while. But in terms of my favorite character, I think it's quite easy to say that it is Legion. Alright.
So my name is Pasta. I've really only played FE7 and FE8, and that's it. My favorite character in Fire Emblem would probably have to be Amelia, because I just enjoyed using her in FE8.
Wait, really? I never saw it coming from you.
Neither did I.
Amelia, it was nice to use.
Okay.
We've been debated.
Yep.
And I am T, and my experience with Fire Emblem is that every single one that's came out on the North American side, I have played and actually own.
Whoa.
And in the Nimdom, everybody knows me as T, so that's pretty easy to remember. And my favorite Fire Emblem character is actually Ross, because during FE8, I usually used him to solo just about everything, so Ross is boss.
My Ross died.
Oh.
Oh.
Varying perspective here.
Alright, and finally, it's Nimious. You guys already probably know me. So, for me, my favorite Fire Emblem game series would have to be Tellia's series as well. This is probably one of the biggest points for me, is because I've never been that much of a fan of royalty. I've always just thought it was kind of weird. So, for the Tellia series, for Ike just to be a mercenary, I thought it was immensely cool. And the progression of the story was insane, too. From this humble beginnings at the start to the epic ending. I mean, it's just, everything about it would just strike the chord with me. I've played most of the Fire Emblem games, but that was the only series I could ever complete, at least thoroughly. And in terms of favorite character in Fire Emblem, it's still Lyn. And I know people are going to have some issues with that, especially with her results in the Find and Vote event, but she's the one who got me interested in Fire Emblem, and I have always had a soft spot for her, so yeah. Okay, with that, let's start talking about our initial thoughts on Three Houses. We're going to break it down because I think there's a lot to talk about. It being a new game and it being, with so little revealed, we could literally talk about anything for it. So we're going to start with the Three Houses and territories. I think everyone already knows the Three Houses, but yeah, we'll start from there.
So one thing to know about all the different houses, right? The Black Eagles, the Blue Lions, the Golden Deer. The Golden Deer is the only one where it's like one animal and not like a plural.
Oh, that's interesting detail to point out.
That was the first thing that I noticed. I was like, why is the darker minority character the only one with one animal?
Well, okay. The first thing I noticed was every house having a different political system. One's an empire, so emperor and empress. It's the divine decree of, I don't know if I have a god, all right? So, but it's a divine decree, so a greater force puts them in power. At least that's how it's supposed to be viewed. Another one for Fargus, I believe. It is a kingdom, having a king and queen. And then, of course, for the Leicester Alliance, might have butchered that. It seems to be democracy, just a bunch of different noble families coming together and then electing leader is what I see. So that's the first thing I noticed, the different political systems.
Yeah, I have to say that was probably one of the biggest things that I found kind of fascinating, because usually when you look through the different royalty systems in Fire Emblem games, they're either kingdoms or empires, and maybe occasionally you'll have some small little clans or whatnot, but seeing all three different kingdoms split up almost evenly, although the empire admittedly has the largest territory. I think it's kind of interesting to see all three perspectives pitted together here, and seeing how they're going to interact with each other, just both on a person-to-person scale and a political scale throughout the story, will probably be rather fascinating. I hope.
And, you know, it's kind of rare for a Fire Emblem game trailer to start with. Well, it's not that rare, but we see so much from the initial map. We don't just see the Fodlan Empire, the continent, but we also see the neighboring countries as well, which leads a lot to where the story could be going. Because the trailer actually doesn't give us a lot about the story elements. You know, we know the 3 houses, we know the territories, but that's about it. But we don't know where the actual threat is coming from. The biggest thing is a lot of people just view this game as, like, you know, a schooling system, but I don't think that's what it's going to be about. I'm pretty sure there will be external forces that will be in play.
Like, are we working with the other territories, or are we kind of like neutral with them, and then a greater force has us bind together?
Because if you think about, like, there has to be some kind of system of peace in here. You wouldn't send, you know, your direct descendant, you know, the next in line for your families, for your houses, into this neutral territory if there wasn't some kind of peace agreement, right? Like, oh yeah, we're at war, but let's send our kids together to go to school together, right? Like, that makes no sense.
Also, how does that, like, comply in with, like, so each of these governments are, like, respecting each other's territories, but they're sending their finest to go to school at the same place?
Yeah,
in
that's,
this, like, tri-state area?
If you think about
how
it,
how do you come across that agreement?
Right, and if you think about it, how much sense does that make? So your kids, you know, who are most likely going to be leading your forces in army, they go to school with each other, like, they're taught the same tactics. Is that even smart? It's really hard to see like that 3 houses at least being at war, and I really think, you know, that hints at I think there's going to be a conflict between the 3 houses, like a real conflict. I don't think it's going to be only about the school itself, but I think there's going to be a major external force that they have to all come together against or something like that. That's what I see anyways.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is going to happen because this territory is outside of the 3 houses. But yeah, anyways.
Well, the trailer did, like, in the beginning where you're first traveling with your father.
All right.
So my point I was making, right, at the beginning when you're traveling with your father, they mentioned some, like, event happening as you're heading toward the monastery, and then you're instigated as a teacher. So what event would have happened to have you become a teacher when you're just, like, traveling?
Right. And it's probably something really significant, because the way I take out of the trailer is that after that event, you see Sothis, like, she appears in your mind for Byleth. So there's something significant enough that to bring him into this. Otherwise, he's just some mercenary. And how do you end up as a teacher from being a mercenary? You know, it's weird.
Dad dies.
He clearly did not die. In the trailer, you saw his dad reaching the monastery.
Okay, fine. Dad will die.
They could just pull another Grail. Grail wasn't dead at the very beginning, but he died a little bit into it.
Okay, I'm not sure we're supposed to say that out, but
it's not much of a spoiler, seeing as
it's not much of a spoiler.
But
I know,
still
but
a
people don't know.
spoiler.
People don't know when and where he dies.
I guess.
No, his death is gonna become the catalyst for the main conflict.
I'm not even sure if this is a conflict.
I'm not sure if it'll become the catalyst of the main conflict, but it would be a good way to spur the player into action. I mean, I don't know about that. They could just pull another Ike, but something tells me that they might have a little bit something else in plan. But we'll see, of course.
Going back to the 3 houses, though, Destrian Empire seems to have, like, taken another empire, you know? Fargus in the north, Leicester Alliance in the east, but the Destrian Empire is to the west and south. It seems to have taken something else there, or if it was always naturally bigger. I need to actually see the map right now to see, because usually borders of a country are formed by mountains, great oceans, rivers, or whatnot, like natural barriers to call the borders. The Destrian Empire, though, just seems far too big. So if there was a conflict, I'm pretty sure it would just come from the Destrian Empire. If it was internal anyways.
Yeah, on review of the map, like, it makes sense for, like, Fargus and, like, Lecter to be separated through the mountains because they're on this kind of peninsula type. But then the Destrian Empire is split between the mountains and the rivers between each of the other 2. So it would seem that maybe there was 4, and they went over to the east or west, like, across the mountains, and took that over.
Yeah. But yeah, that's in terms of the houses. The monastery and school, though, this really reminds me of Europe and how, like, it's like Switzerland in the middle, you know, where you have a neutral ground surrounded by mountains.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like it's gonna start off, everyone is fine with each other, but then at some point something happens and it causes each of the lands to conflict against each other, which would probably play in part with which school or which side you are with.
You know, looking at the map, you guys are completely right. Adestrian Empire seems to be 2 countries because they have a perfect landmass separating the south from the west. The mountains just cut it off perfectly. But yeah, going back to the Garreg Mach Monastery right in the middle of it all, yeah, that's a super interesting aspect of it because we know one thing about it, and that it's literally the Church of Saros. The Church of Saros is right in the middle, so it might be a religious reason why it's neutral, not just a landmass protecting it, but a religious reason. And that's really interesting to see that it's definitely neutral, and all 3 nations trust their kids to go there. And here's something that people lose track of, but 3 teams for the school, each of them are just purely of students from the individual nations, right?
Right.
And so when they compete, it's just like, oh yeah, everyone is literally a citizen of your same country. You're all nobles of that country, and you all come together. So this neutral country, or this monastery itself, the school, how much power do they actually have to bring everyone together like this? It's insane.
Power of religion can be pretty magnanimous when it comes to controlling other kingdoms, or at least keeping them at peace.
Could be a dragon.
Wouldn't be surprised. Well, I mean,
could be a dragon. I mean,
we
saw
saw
a
dragon. It's almost always a dragon. But no, I'm pretty sure that they probably all have some sort of following of the same religion, and as such, they respect.
What I'm wondering, so you arrive here, right? You're teaching here. How do you choose one of the houses if you're teaching everybody? Do you just is it a decision okay, I'm gonna teach these people? Is that?
I think as the story progresses, you'll be forced to make that decision. You know, at the start you'll be neutral, and you'll get to learn and know about all the different students, especially the leaders of the houses. And then eventually you have to make that decision of which one you want to specialize in, or be a proper instructor to.
Yeah, I mean, just by looking at everything, it kind of has a Fates feel to it, where you're going to be, just like Nim said, very neutral at the beginning. A conflict's going to happen, and then you're going to have to choose one of them, and that's where you're going to be. And that may affect the gameplay or exactly how it's going to be presented to you later on.
That kind of scares people, though, that aspect of choosing, because
they don't want Fates again.
And, oh, man, speaking of Fates, Revelation just kind of pisses me off, right?
Yeah.
So I always like Conquest more because siding with Nor just seems so much more proper, because the entire game is Nor's evil, Garen's evil, it's all their fault. It's just, that kind of stuff disgusts me. And that's why I like Three Houses, because it doesn't seem to be any side being evil, or you can clearly see oh, they're the perpetrators here, they're the ones in the wrong. It seems like it's going to be a lot more neutral. So if you do pick somebody, it's a lot more justifiable. You don't have to have the entire game telling you you're wrong for making this choice or something.
Well, then that brings up the question of how much exactly does the plot change based on your decision, and also is it the same plot, but it just your decision just impacts what units you use?
That's right.
Because so they're all neutral, right? They're all in this one monastery place. And so under the assumption that the conflict comes from outside source, does the plot really change depending on your decision?
I know what you mean now, because you're obviously going to have more interactions with the students in the same house as you, if you do back a house, right? Say if you back to the Astrian Empire and you have the Black Eagles to interact with at that point, or most of your interactions go there. If this game does go that direction, you could have 3 very different playthroughs.
Yeah, which would make sense, seeing as how they would want the amount of content they can put into a full console game as opposed to just a DS title.
Yeah, that's also true. This game can be so much bigger. And how long... Does anybody know how long this game's been in progress for?
I could double check, but I think it's been at least in circulation for 2 years in announcements.
And it also got delayed.
And it's been delayed.
Yeah.
It's been delayed, yes.
Because the way I see it is just okay, I think there's 3 possible paths. All right, you're gonna have, if we can look at it that way, a path where you back each house to victory. So like the District Empire wins the conflict, say that. Ferguson wins the conflict, Leicester wins the conflict, and then we'll have the cop-out answer, which is, you know, the Revelation path where you don't pick any of the houses.
But then that's just a Fate sport for the Switch.
With one more house.
People don't want.
Well, it's not a Fate sport because it's an entirely different storyline. Again, Saros, this Church of Saros seems to have a lot of influence that we have no idea about, but they clearly have a lot of power to even have this kind of situation play out.
Right.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm wondering as well is if you choose one house, I mean, it could be a situation where you end up in a love triangle of war of sorts, where basically you're going to have 2 sides working together to defeat one other side, and it could very well be affecting the impact of what side you're going to be looking at as far as the enemy goes.
You're actually really right about that. If you remember looking in the trailer itself, I'm pretty sure the Blue Lions and Golden Deer seem to have quite a good relationship with each other. They seem really buddy. Dimitri and Claude, they seem to like the reactions. They had a lot of interactions with each other. It's
Are you insinuating something?
You already know fangirls out there are gonna make that a thing.
Bro, you best believe I'm gonna make that
Twitter
a thing.
already has. So
yeah, see?
Don't worry about it.
So it wouldn't surprise me if those 2 came together, because if you look at the map, the Destrian Empire is like twice the size. I don't even know if Ferglin and Leicester coming together would be as big as the Destrian Empire. A Destrian Empire is huge. So that would make a lot of sense.
Well, it is an empire.
It's just a title, dude. Come on.
I mean, it'd be about equal at that point, but still, it is an empire. It can still conquer territory.
Well, kingdoms
If
can
it's
too.
aggressive.
The democracies
I mean,
could
kingdoms
as well.
can too, which does kind of make a bit of curiosity how there's one territory to the far north that's technically connected to the mainland, but is not associated with any of the 3.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Well,
say
that's
Fergus
because the nation over there wouldn't send their kids across the mountains to get to the monastery.
There's a lot of natural barriers, and it makes sense why they're separated from everything. But yeah. But going forward, more specific things about the students and characters. What have you guys thought so far of them?
I think that design-wise, I mean, I'm gonna need to wait until I actually see their characters, but they haven't really, I guess, really stood out to me much. I think that they're definitely clean, but I just haven't really, personally, attracted much to most of the designs outside of the main 3, but they look all right. Obviously, based on the amount of flexibility there'll probably be interesting units to use, but I'm very much interested in seeing how they can actually develop these characters based on the fact that they are all basically in uniform and, well, not exactly extremely distinct from the trailer, what it's able to show us.
Wait, you don't see their characteristics?
I need to double check, but I mean, I can't see a whole lot of them.
Claude
Mostly
seems
just
extremely laid back. Extremely laid
I
back.
wasn't talking about the main ones. I'm just talking about side characters. But for the main ones, it definitely seems like they show off something which their personalities are definitely interesting to say the least.
Of course, we can't talk about
More
the students
interesting.
themselves because we haven't seen them.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying like characters in general outside of just, you know.
Yeah, the students are the main units that you will be using and interacting with, I would think.
Yeah, probably.
Because the leader of the house shouldn't be indicative of your choice. I think it should be really the student.
Wait, really?
Right.
Yeah, well, come on. Everyone's going to hop on the waifu house.
Here's the thing, though. They're probably not going to show the students very much until you choose the house. So
I mean,
exactly.
right now, they're going to choose.
Well, the trail,
you only see some students.
The trailer is
very
very
little
heavy.
students in comparison.
Yeah, see, the
The
students were
trailer
in the
is-
background. The students were the leaders. Eldegard, Dimitri, and Claude. They were the biggest focus of the trailer.
Right. Their characters shine out a little bit.
When it kind of came to show the students, I feel like most of them were from the red.
The
I
what?
believe.
Yeah,
He's talking about the
like
Red Eagles.
like all the students they showed really were on the side of the red.
Yeah,
I think
it was very Eldegard, and the Black Eagles were the focus of the trailer definitely. But I think that's just where they're pushing the game towards.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. They're gonna push their waifu out, so of course they're gonna emphasize that particular branch.
Mm-hmm.
I also would like to point out as well, in terms of design, Obviously, you guys know I definitely see a Yu-Gi-Oh! GS-esque design in terms of school, but actually, I do see a very, very nice Valkyria Chronicles-esque design when it comes to the characters.
That's what I
don't know if
like
you
the
noticed
most.
that. I was like, oh, this is a very, very nice mixture. I like this a lot. So it actually does give me hopes in terms of the design. Also, another thing, I mean, it might not be correct, but the houses you choose could honestly low-key determine the difficulty of the game itself.
Oh,
Hmm.
like
That
Birthright
would be kinda-
Conquest. Okay.
Because it seems like they're really pushing out the Red Eagles. So that could be like, I don't want to say easy mode, but like normal mode.
Casual
and then like
mode.
the other two, yeah, and then the other two could be like the harder difficulties, but
Mm.
not too hard. Like they're not gonna outright tell you, but it's just gonna be like that.
Here's the thing. I'm not sure if the game will actually progress that way because I think there'll be two major choices. All right. First choice is, of course, who you are supporting in the school itself. The Black Eagles and the Dustrian Empire, I think they're two separate entities. I wouldn't look at them the same. Like, oh yeah, just because they're from the Dustrian Empire, you know, they're gonna have more students or something. Or they could do that, but I'm not sure if that's gonna work because it seems like every student is a noble or somebody notable coming from a notable family of their houses. But yeah, the Dustrian Empire's like sheer size, likely wealth, and so on and so forth probably doesn't play impact in the school itself. It's gonna be a lot more even.
I was actually thinking, to be honest, we might be thinking a little too much of their conflict, a little too much. I don't think there's going to be as much conflict as we think there's going to be.
Guessing
Between
from
the
the
three, at least.
antagonists we've been able to see, like I think they show like a 2-second clip of one of the likely major antagonists at the very end of the trailer. I think there's a good chance that it won't be as much focused on interkingdom conflict as it is on a separate power. At least from what I've been able to see. There might be corrupt powers within the kingdoms, but it probably will not be the main focus of the entire story, from what I've been able to tell.
And that's what confuses people because it seems to be like two separate factors here. A lot of people lose their minds thinking it's this entire thing. It's Fire Emblem, Fire Emblem School Edition or something like that, right? But the reality of it is, I think it's going to be two parts to the story. You know, one the school system of it, and you might even go towards the game. That actually speaks to the fact that, do you think this game will be two parts, like the Telia series, where Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn were very different.
They're also separated by quite a few years. That's the other thing.
That's the point, though. They are very different stories because this game can go from, oh, hey, this first game is all about the students themselves. Game 2 is about the graduated students and what they do from that point on. Because the teleseries was just like that. They weren't students, of course, but you know what I mean.
If they do like a part 2, it could be like all these students have grown up or they're like now leading their countries, and then there's the inner conflict.
Right. Because that's what it seems like. This game has two parts to it, and it could just really mean two games.
I mean,
two more price tags.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I don't like to admit it, but it is 2 more price tags. They could technically have 2 parts between 2 games, though. Something tells me that there's a good chance they could have the ambition to put the entirety of it in one game as well, if they were to go down the route of before and after.
Right,
and I think they definitely want to do that because, Fates did sell somewhat well when they were split up.
Pretty well. It was really solid.
I think though that they kind of want to keep it singular because you can tell they're doing away with 3DS. That's like the thing of the past. Yep. I don't see a console game getting multiple parts like that.
But that's what Telia series was, a console game getting multiple parts.
Well, I don't see them getting multiple parts for their different games. I don't see them doing the Fates where it's the same story but 3 different games.
Oh no, that's not gonna happen.
That already isn't happening.
But splitting up the story between 2 separate games, while feasible, might not happen if they decide to really push what the Switch is able to hold. And if they decide that they're more so satisfied with expanding the story in one game, rather than splitting it up between console generations. Because if I remember correctly, part of Path of Radiance's fault was that it came out at a very awkward time in the GameCube's lifespan, as well as the Game Boy's. So they might have had to take some contractions.
Wait, Game Boys?
Like, I believe that around the time that Sacred Stones and Path of Radiance were getting released, there was some very awkward stuff in the console generation span, so I believe some weird things had to be pushed over others.
Huh.
But that's just what I can remember.
All right, but final thoughts on the characters. I think most of the protagonists that you saw their personality. Edelgard seems to be pretty serious about what's going on. Dimitri too. Claude seems to be like the class clown or something. A lot more laid back.
I'm gonna go on to Claude's side.
Oh yeah, I think
he's gonna have the most personality, to say the least.
Claude seems the most different from the other two. Both of Edelgard and Dimitri are probably okay. I think Edelgard is probably going to be like the class president kind of girl, and Dimitri is probably going to be like this bookworm, serious kind. That's what I see already.
Looks about right to me.
Okay, but if you guys have nothing more to share, what are your hopes and fears, and well, in comparison to other FE games too?
DLC.
DLC.
I just want to get that book out right now. I really hope that the DLC doesn't get as ridiculous as it did with Fates, or even Shadows of Valentia, where it's like $30 to $60 just for the downloadable content, which is not even a game's equivalent of content, if I may add. Like, that's one thing that I just want to say right now I'm very worried about. I don't think they'll quite go that far, but knowing that it's IS, they could do just as much there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just from looking at everything, it kind of feels like they could either make this like almost like a Tellius rerun of today, and kind of make it where a bunch of the countries surrounding the main empire will band together and defeat the larger one, kind of like they did with Radiant Dawn, and when all of the countries surrounding the Benyon Empire came together to defeat that entity. They could do something like that, and honestly, I think that'd be pretty cool if they did. The one thing that I am worried about is if they do kind of like a Fates remake with it and basically just make it like a waifu simulator kind of deal. Because, I mean, honestly, people kind of got sick of that over time. And something like that, if they do that again, it could very well be the nail in the coffin for the Fire Emblem series.
I wouldn't go that far, but I understand what you mean.
No. Yeah, I don't think that a lot of FE fans they keep going down the dating scene, but I will say that a lot of casual fans into that and would probably still eat it up because that's stuff that appeals to them. They don't really care as much about the in-depth game.
So do you think there'll be student-teacher relationships then?
Probably.
More than likely.
I'm all for the illicit relationships. Going back to that big point of FE being a dating simulator, that has always bothered me. Coming from like the Telly series and all that stuff, I was just happy that they were gonna be like after the story, like, oh yeah, Lincia and, well, let's not go too far into like pointing out exactly what happens, but they settle down and he's ever loyal and blah blah blah. Like that was cute enough, and that was all I needed from it. You come to Fates, you come to Awakening, they're broods. It's all about breeding heroes. And that's always gotten to me. It's like, what the fuck? Like, oh yeah, I love Elise. And I think Odin's a cool guy. I don't want Odin to fuck Elise. But you have to.
You're like, I want their child to have the best strength modifier possible. And so, like, I don't know. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, and that's what scares me, because these are students. God damn.
I mean, they're probably going to be at least somewhat mature students, but they're still students, and this is kind of weird in concept. Shipping students with students, students with teachers, students with their future rulers. What?
Students with bandits.
Bandits. There's probably going to be at least a couple of units that are not from the monastery itself.
I mean, we saw a bandit right at the start in the trailer. So.
Yeah, I mean, like recruitable. They might be even just a couple units beyond the monastery. At
Actually, that's a good point. You think that's actually gonna be a thing because it's a school system. You can't just take anybody in, and it's a prestigious school system for that.
It is a prestigious school system, but something tells me that over time, especially in the late game, they might recruit some units that are not exactly just from that schooling system as they progress beyond learning and start looking more so towards just the war aspect. You never know. They might, like, I highly doubt we're going to be able to see most of the recruitable units at the very beginning, or at least see the system they come in. There's probably going to be some progression where you might see some units from other sources. They might join the schooling system, but they're still going to be outside of it at the very beginning. You'll probably have to recruit them into it as you go along, which wouldn't be half bad.
Mm-hmm. For dating and stuff, I just hope it's not a thing. But the worst part about it is they kind of have to. It's like an obligation at this point. They've established this fan base, and if they don't have this dating simulator, breeding simulator thing in this game, people are going to be upset.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't fit at all at this point.
I mean, the breeding simulator, I don't know about. They might continue with that, but this game doesn't exactly give me those vibes. But the dating simulator, I think they're going to continue to push with all priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely see more dating, less breeding.
Yeah.
You know, there's gonna be one guy out there that's super mad that he's not able to touch Elder.
You think that's gonna be a thing still? I mean, the Switch it has a touch screen, and you could be really up and close personal now.
For all the people that have played Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee,
yeah.
One of the main features, in fact, was interacting with your Pokemon.
Yeah, pass the go. It's time to blow into the mic. Blow on her.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna blow on Eldegar.
I don't think my wife would approve of me having that game then.
What are you doing, T? Your face is just up to the Switch screen.
It's like, sweetheart, I'm trying to make them breed.
Yes.
It's what I have to do. It is for the greater good.
See, if I don't have a bath scene, then their strength modifiers won't go.
Oh, you already know that's gonna be a DLC, the Hot Spring DLC. I already see that being a thing.
No, it's gonna be in the base game. It's gonna be part of the plot.
No, they're gonna sell that. They're gonna sell that for sure.
If my child isn't adamant, I'm throwing her away. I don't care.
You like restart the game.
We're getting shinies now? Is that it?
Shiny units? What? Oh dear. I think we've gotten too far with the Pokemon analogy.
Yeah. But in terms of other hopes, I just really hope we have a real story. That's it. I've actually talked to somebody about this as well, and they've let me know about the writers, potential writers. I've heard it's the same writers as Fates, but then I've heard other conflicting matters, just like, oh, it's the overall person watching over it is from Fates, but like they're not actually doing any of the writing or anything like that. Like I don't know. For me, because the story can go anywhere and it's gonna be very different. Each side's very, very different. The amount of writing that has to go in here, I hope, is legitimate and backing it up. Otherwise, you're gonna have a lot of big mysteries that you need to explain, and that they have to make sense. You know, big ones are like, oh, why is Sothis in your mind right now, and what's the point of that? Why is one empire, empire, one's one in kingdom? You know, why didn't they come together? Why is there a conflict? Like, there's so many questions that a good story has to be there to back it up. But we just don't have a lot to be. That leads us to be positive about this, with FEH and Fates, and then, yeah. Well, what do you guys think?
I seriously hope that with the expansion on this of size on this console, that they'd be able to expound a little more on the lore. They have, I mean, I'm not really using FEH as much of a standpoint. That one doesn't really seem to be taking up much of their resources, but yeah, when it comes to Fates, like, I feel like there was a lot of good groundwork that they just did not really go into detail with, and that might have just been because their priorities were in certain places that, well, like the shipping or just fan service or whatnot, that might not have really translated very well overall. And given how this game has really staged itself, there is a hopeful chance that they might at least take off some of that priority in favor of a little more world building, especially since, it's an academic system. There's going to be I would hope there is at least a little bit of learning. So perhaps we'd be able to get at least a little more of an explanation on the kingdoms themselves, the different territories themselves, how they are grounded, founded, how they progressed, whatnot. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to put my expectations too high after Fates, but I am going to say that they have managed to do some good world building in the past that I hope they can manage again.
Right, and it's not like Fire Emblem has always had bad writers. It's not a norm, in my opinion. I mean, you got to keep in mind for the time being, right? What we view as stereotypical nowadays, like, oh yeah, slay the dragon. It's been done so many times. And historically, down to like the medieval ages, that's like the writing stuff. But for a game at the time, it wasn't that different. It wasn't like that unoriginal, right?
Kind of.
It's maybe Shadow Dragon was not the best example, or I mean, Shadow Dragon's the remake, but the first Fire Emblem game. But you should keep in mind the context. I mean, in Japan or something, like maybe it's not that standard. Regardless, for Three Houses, they could have a lot of places they can go, and that's what the biggest thing's about. But yeah, what do you think, T?
In regards to what? Sorry, I kind of blanked for a second.
Just the direction of writing, where it could go and whatnot.
I mean, honestly, at this point, it's going to be very interesting when we actually get more information about it, because right now, I'm kind of at the standpoint where something that Legion actually said before this podcast started, I agree with 100%, and that's don't judge a book by its cover. Because honestly, at this point, the things that we don't know could really change our outlook on Three Houses. So at this point, I mean, it could be something where they could actually come out with a game that, quite honestly, will really be a heavy rejuvenation for the Fire Emblem series and actually build onto its longevity. Or they could actually go in and literally kill the entire series by shipping out a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall with the writing, I would have to say that the things that we don't know is really what I'm more interested in, because of the fact that could really shape where this game actually goes.
Personally, I just hope that the gameplay is good.
I think
it's rather vague what I would like to see in good gameplay, but as long as I enjoy myself from like map to map, the writing doesn't really matter.
Oh no, you're part of that group.
I will say, in terms of what we've seen, it seems like you got a lot of freedom to do what you like.
That's
how you want to build your units and whatnot, which I do like. I love freedom. Love my freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nurka.
Something. I hope it's not an outright choice. I hope it's like some sort of like an influence thing, where depending on what you do, you gain influence to a certain house, or something like that. I do want something like that. I don't want it to just like, oh, I choose blue because I like blue.
So where's the part in the game where we overthrow all three empires, and then we just claim the entire land?
Brilliant.
Anarchy.
Yeah, we gain loyalty within the house of Zeros, and then we build an army, and then we conquer all the lands. Where's that option? Where's that?
Oh yeah, we've taken your children, and we now have your future, and then we develop and then we conquer the world. Like, yeah, I could see that being a thing. That'd be so extreme.
Do some social engineering with their children. They're now completely loyal to us, and then they give us all the power once they.
That actually would be a pretty interesting take on it, and I would actually think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Are we the bad guy?
Ooh.
Never.
Maybe.
I highly doubt it, but it would be fun.
It would be fun if a Fire Emblem game that we played as the bad guy. I mean, in Fates, they kind of make it off as like, oh, Nor's the bad guy, but that's not really bad guy.
Yeah. No.
That's like all misinformation.
Yeah.
Something I would like to ask though, who are you gonna pick? Not house, character. Are you gonna pick a boy or?
Oh, have you guys seen the fan art of the girl teacher?
No.
I do not
I've
like
seen
her
some.
outfit.
Her belly button is fully exposed, so I don't know what you're talking about, Pasta.
It just looks messy.
I think
feel
her
like I feel like more care went into the male design.
Yeah, wasn't her
regarding, like, the
chest more
outfit.
exposed?
Yes.
In Japanese.
And she's
Okay.
a lot smaller as a female.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm the guy that always chooses the female avatar, but
What?
I might go for the male avatar.
Yeah,
this
I do too. I always choose the female. I might actually go with the male. I like his design way much better.
Yeah, because the female
cleaner.
seems like I feel like they didn't develop the female avatar like with the clothing and then like the hair and stuff. Like I feel like it was just kind of rushed in a sense because it just doesn't look very nice. You can find me on that.
Something tells me that they designed the story to be more guy-centric, and they just added her, like, towards developing this game. She was just plopped in, just to give people a choice.
Right. I think the game, you can see it kind of, was focused on Edogard. I'm gonna keep butchering her name, and Baelith. Like you could see it. Like it was just. That was supposed to be the focus of it, and then they came up with the rest of the story, and it came to Three Houses. Yeah, I definitely see what you guys mean with the female teacher, and I'm going to be playing male. I always play male too, so this doesn't change anything for me. Like I always felt weird playing as a female character when I'm a guy, and it's even weirder.
no.
Here.
I love playing as the female character.
Okay, it's even weirder when you have to make the choice of of a relationship when you're the girl.
Well, when typically I just don't. Well, I just don't.
You just don't? Okay.
No, I ain't sexist. I'll pick one of the hot guys. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm very much like Nimious in this case. I actually play only as the male avatar because I am a guy, and it would just feel kind of weird to me if I was trying to imagine myself in a female position, and especially in like Fates or games similar to that where you basically are in a waifu or a husbando simulator, or in the case of Fates, basically a breeding simulator.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really weird to kind of put your mindset into that when you're a very masculine human being.
Yes, definitely.
Well, I never really self-insert when it comes to male or female. I just like looking at the female avatar. But this time I don't like looking at the female avatar, so I'm gonna choose the...
What? Wait, I don't get it.
I feel the same way too, actually. Yeah.
The way they made her out to be, she seems pretty slutty. I'm just gonna say that.
Which is why I don't like it.
What? What's? So you're more interested in fully clothed, heavily garbed Robin.
Honestly, I don't even see her as slutty. I just see her as completely uninteresting.
Really? What?
Yeah, I like, and you can tell in the trailer they only showed her in the character selection screen. She was nowhere else in sight, like at all. You can clearly tell they were trying to push for the dude.
I mean, all the cinematic scenes were with the guy too, so.
I feel like it just fits better.
It definitely does. Okay. In terms of story, it does too. Like, oh, you're with your father, you're heading towards a monster, and then whoa, bad guys. You know. It just fits so much better. Anyways, but yeah, less about that. Going forward is just like, I guess we'll move on to the next topic actually for plot predictions. We've talked about it a bunch of times, but like if you put it like into a more concise thing, what would it be?
I think the church is gonna be evil.
Yeah.
None of the three houses themselves are evil, like none of them at all, but the church will kind of play into the conflict, whereas they'll make one side seem more evil than the other, and then therefore, or if they do the choice thing, whichever house you choose, the church will put against you. So the other two will be going after you, whichever house you choose. But then at some point you realize that, okay, maybe this guy isn't the worst, it's the church. So I think the final villain will be the church in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, with everything is shown of the church, it just doesn't make sense unless they were the villain.
So here's what I'm thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, you show up, right? You're chilling, you're teaching, you're making babies, or what? I don't know what you're doing at this church, right? But
Grading
right, and then
papers.
dragon alert. All the main leaders of each of the kingdoms are possessed by dragons, and we gotta go beat the dragon at them. Let's go to each kingdom. And then the real dragon was the lolly in your head, and then now all your students have to beat you.
What?
Oh, no.
Long story short, the lolly is in fact the real villain, but she's also a dragon.
Are we gonna get a falchion then?
Just
We
another
are the
dragon
falchion.
flying weapon. You are the.
Yeah,
What do you mean,
the
like
real
you can
falchion was the friends we made along the way.
Wow, that is.
Stop! Stop!
But speaking of that,
Oh my.
speaking of that, like Sothis, she's clearly a dragon, and she's clearly in your head, and she clearly has a greater part to play than just being in your head.
She's
Well,
also
yeah.
evil.
She is not evil. What? How did you even get
She's
that
evil,
impression?
dude. She's the main villain.
Hold on. What if she really is in your head? What if she doesn't exist?
No,
No,
oh, you're
no,
crazy.
no.
I am
Make this
one
up.
of
She's
those-
the main
yeah.
villain, and she's the main villain, and she keeps showing up inside your head to try to lead you astray, and she's trying to influence you to teach these future leaders
No.
the wrong way,
No,
so that she will take over.
no.
Because the leadership.
What?
What are you even imagining? Okay, that's not even as bad as what I thought you were going to be. I thought you were going to be like, Sothis just in your head, it's like, do it. Stab her. Do it. Just telling you in the
So-
back.
Yeah.
Sothis is like, she's like controlling you in a sense, or like influencing you.
And you're just upset that the lolly is evil. in this
I'm not. That
scenario.
would actually be super interesting, but she clearly seems to be.
You're just
good
upset
girl.
that you can't breed with the law.
She's in your head, dude. This reminds me of Monogatari, where you had Araki and Shinobu, and she was just in your head, well, in your shadow actually the entire time. But no, I love that. I love this dynamic. I love it. It's really interesting because she seems to be, she seems to have a lot of character in her. So yeah, I really
Probably
want to
because
see
she had
go
the
for-
most dialogue in the trailer.
Well, no, her dialogue wasn't very that much. She was just like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" She wakes up and says that, and then what? There was
What
virtually
am I
no
doing
dialogue
here?
in general.
Well, I was trying to watch a Nintendo Direct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What if instead of slaying a dragon or becoming a dragon, she becomes your mount?
you ride her into battle? Okay.
Wait,
What?
you mean like Ryder like as a dragon?
As
Yeah,
a
go
dragon,
like a-
obviously.
yeah.
Who's degenerate here? God damn.
Oh wow.
That's
So
the
there
special
will be
class. There's no such things as wyvern riders. There's just Pegasus riders. But you're the only wyvern rider. Look at
Is
that.
there a dragon house? A secret dragon house?
The Church of
main villain?
Seros is all about dragons, man.
The
Unless they
Church of
decide to
Seros,
be dragons.
the actual building is not actually the Church of Seros, but is in fact a dragon.
Ugh.
Oh, that
You're
would be
saying that-
interesting.
You're saying the church is the dragon itself.
Yeah, no, the building.
The
Yeah, the
building,
building.
itself.
Yeah, that's the final boss, the building. We have to crumble down all its walls.
Wait, where do you even think this is going? The story. I mean,
Harry Potter.
no, it's not. God damn. People are. I think people are so stupid. Most people are kids. They're like,
Oh,
oh, I saw Harry Potter. There's
I-
There's
okay.
3 teams. Yeah.
I did not see Harry Potter.
I did not see it at all. I saw Valkyrie
no,
Chronicles.
honestly,
I saw Pokemon Go with Team Valor, Mystic, and Instinct.
Yeah,
that was my
too. Actually, I'll accept that.
I accept that.
Yeah, like I also saw it how everyone's gonna join Team Valor.
You know, that's actually true.
You know, that's also actually a pretty good point. I think Black Eagles and Blue Lions are gonna get a lot of favor.
Which is why I'm joining Claude.
Yeah.
Okay, it was for me. It was really easy. I knew from the beginning I was a Destrian Empire, even without seeing Edelgard. Like I just knew. I already knew just from the emblem itself. and just from like the prospect of what they could do, that was already interesting enough.
Yeah, you would be a red team.
Yeah, I would be Team Red. Yeah.
Of course you would.
Though speaking of that,
I'm
like,
gonna end up joining all three of them at some point anyway. It just really comes down to who I want to join first, second, and third.
yeah, but that's what I was gonna go on. Like, who would you guys join? I mean, some of us already shared opinions, but the rest of you guys. And I'll start with the team you're supporting first. I think everyone's gonna play all three houses eventually. I think if the game's that good, I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, first I'm gonna join Claude, and then I'm gonna go to Dimitri, and I'll do Edelgard last.
I'm pretty much on the same boat. I might do Dimitri first. I might do Claude first, but I kind of want to save Edelgard for last.
Saving. Okay.
Yeah, you want to be disappointed at the end, you know.
Yeah. Disappointed by the bandwagon at the end. Sure.
I think myself, I'm gonna play as the guy and join Black Eagle. But then I'm gonna play as the girl and go with Blue Lions. Because honestly, Blue Lions is like also another one that piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Same here. Once they said in the north, where it's cold, they're like, "Oh, it's Canada." Yeah, I'm very much the same. For me, it's Edelgard, and then Dimitri, and that was, I think that's it. I actually have no interest in Claude.
Oh, Claude gets
Poor Claude.
The thing is, like,
I'm
once I
probably
saw
going
his
to be
rat tail-
extremely oversimplified with it. And whoever's listed first, I'm going to join them. Then whoever's listed second, I'm going to join them. Whoever's listed at the bottom, they're going to be the last one because honestly, I just don't feel like thinking about it. I'm just going to go chronologically in the list.
Then
You're
you're
the
going
guy
Edelgard.
that like presses A through the tutorial, right? And you're like, oh, I guess I'm.
Yeah, I pretty much am just there for the ride when it comes down to tutorial.
All right, then you're going Edelgard because she's been listed first and everything I've seen so far.
Yeah, sounds like
Probably.
it.
All right, let's get to our final topic, and that is who is your favorite. Well, actually, let's do a side topic first. The art style. This is one of the most controversial things about this game thus far, and I guess I'll start first. I love it. It reminds me of Valkyria Chronicles. It's slick. It's modern. It looks like Persona 2 to some people, but I think that's good because you have the game animation. They just look so much more natural and normal. In Fates and Awakening, where you had like these chibi models, like it never felt right to have these cutscenes. It just didn't feel human or relatable or realistic. When I saw the cutscenes in this game, I was hype, and in-game cutscenes too, for that matter. So,
yeah.
I'm a fan of the art style. I think it has to be done. My favorite Fire Emblem art style in period would be from the GBA series, the sprite stuff. But you have to progress, and I like the realistic look. I like Path of Radiant's realistic look too, and I think this is like a natural progression from that part. So, I like it.
Yeah.
I essentially share the same opinion. This, in terms of art direction, it screamed Valkyria Chronicles, and I love Valkyria Chronicles, so I was definitely on board with this art direction.
Yeah. From what I've been able to see, I'll definitely say that I am a sucker for older games, and I do like the GBA art style. But I think that this is definitely a nice step up on the modernization look. Something that is both nice and sharp, clean, well-defined, looks pleasant enough. I will say that after having played through Shadows of Valentia, I kind of like the slightly more stylized look of Shadows of Valentia's art a little better, but I still think that this is really nice, and I'll probably enjoy looking at this more than, if I had to say, probably Fate's art. And the modeling, of course, is a lot better because they can actually use their models now instead of the little half-sized people in just about everything but the major cutscenes.
I would love if there was like an option to switch art styles between this like 3D render and then a sprite oriented.
This
that would
is
be
Dragon Quest.
I was
No,
gonna
it's
say
not
like
Dragon
exactly
Quest.
like Dragon Quest.
The thing is, they kept the sprites. You saw it, right? In the classes, when they were choosing between classes, you saw the sprites.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Oh,
it'd be
yeah, they
interesting
did
if
that.
But yeah, I don't think that's a thing. Anyways, that's nice to hear from you guys. Did anyone not go?
Yeah, I was just waiting for you guys to get your thoughts out. I try to be polite and not jump in and interrupt anybody.
It's a
All right,
podcast. We're
sorry.
supposed to jump in and interrupt people.
Yeah, I guess I'm just a little too polite for my own good.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, as far as the art style goes, when I look at it, I actually get a feel of like almost a modernized, like Radiant Dawn, Path of Radiance kind of art style. And I mean, I actually like the way those looked. So to kind of take it a little bit further on that, I mean, I definitely am digging the way it looks.
There's been a very couple of really vocal people on not liking the art style. Of course, I don't see it that way, but yeah, it's nice to hear that everyone here likes it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where they're coming from. It seems a little simple and bland. It doesn't to have any sort of unique feature that defines it as its own style, at least from the general's perspective. But I think it works out pretty well. I think it's really nice and clean, communicates the characters really well. I can see their gripe, but it looks fine.
And that's what I want to talk about too, is that people want things to be so different, but it's to the degree of like, let's be so different that we're bad, right? Like we can't be good. We can't have like this clean modern look because other games do it. Like I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah. Nah. I don't really need my art to be my art direction to be in this whole unique style, because realistically, as long as the character designs themselves are fun to look at, the art's clean enough where it's enjoyable, and the actual content of the game, it's actually good. That's all I really care about.
Okay. All right. The final topic, of course, is your favorite character that was revealed so far, and I'll go first because it's Sothis, and that's the okay. Ignore the fact that she's a lolly, but it's just the fact that she got the least amount of exposure so far. I mean, everybody else you have some kind of idea of, but you don't know anything about her. Like, all you know is she's in your head, but who is she? What part of the story she's going to take part in? Like, that's the greatest intrigue for me. And the fact that you're basically going to have, like, I don't know how she's going to work into the story, because we don't see, like, how she interacts with you outside of, like, being in your head, right? So, like, can you, like, in the middle of class, she's talking to you in your head? Or, like, or is it something like, oh, you only see her in, like, dreams, nightmares? Or is, like, when your life's in danger, you see her? And obviously you saw, Bailiff have some kind of power with that foresight or rewinding time. I don't know. When the bandit, like, dropped his axe in his back. So, like, how all that ties together with Sothis, and jeez, I would just love to know more. And she seems pretty interesting, and she seems to have a sharp tongue, so I'm looking forward to the banter she has.
Are you trying to say that Sothis is a stand?
What?
So you're saying, that Byleth is a JoJo character?
No. That was not what I was going for at all. The way I see it is like Monogatari.
I guess.
Okay. Well, my favorite character so far has been Petra, because she's hot.
Great reasoning.
I mean, bro, she's got legs. I'm like, dang.
Gosh diddly dang, those are some nice legs.
But I would love if it was a breeding simulator for Petra.
Oh my god.
Yes, breed. Actually, I'm gonna go with my favorite character so far is the main character himself. I really like his design. I fell in love with it. No homo.
Homo.
Yeah, full homo.
They seem to be wearing shoes this time, so that's a plus.
Oh no, not the toes.
I can't personally voice my opinion. I'm not gonna. I refuse to voice my opinions on the characters until I actually see them, like in depth, because then I'm judging a book by its cover, and I just don't like that. But if I had to just say right now, my biggest intrigue would probably be to, the main, the heads of the Church of Saros specifically. I'm kind of
the
more
thick
curious
lady.
Yeah.
Did anybody see her?
Of course, but...
Oh my god, those hips!
That is a figure and a half.
I'm like, bro, that's not even an hourglass. What is that?
That is beyond hourglass. I was like, every single time I saw it, I was like, what the fuck? I can see how you have a religion.
That is a Coke bottle. That is
Kim
a bottle.
Kardashian's got nothing compared to what she's got. Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
I'm just interested to see their character interactions, but of course, people are always going to fall in with the design, and I can't help but admit they definitely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to more than
In-depth
just
with that.
the character interactions, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are going to want to go in depth. It's just
Yes, we would like.
Yeah, in
Definitely
my
like to
case,
see a lot of interactions with her.
right, like with the guy to her left. The guy to her left.
You mean her aide?
Yes.
Is that what you're most interested? Luke,
No,
what
I'm
is your
just-
taste even?
Hold on, I thought this was no.
I'm
no
sure he
homo.
knows in depth about what's going on there.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, T.
Oh, gee. I was actually going to say that in my case, I would have to say that while I do agree with what Legion's saying, don't judge a book by its cover. I mean, just from the initial presentations, I would have to say that I feel like I resonate more with Claude's personality and kind of the way that he presents himself, because like you guys said, and I agree with the analysis you guys gave, he kind of seems really laid back and just carefree for the most part. And I mean, for the most part, I try and do that myself in my own life. So I'd like to connect with a character, at least on a mental standpoint, just the way that I am with them. So I kind of had that connection more with him than anybody else. So that's the reason why I picked him. Here you guys were talking about the breeding simulator part of it. I'm trying to be all intuition like over here.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind a student-teacher relationship, but no breeding.
Yeah,
Breeding
that's
stay
the
out.
only thing I would like to avoid.
Yeah,
breeding.
let's not go back there again, please.
Of course.
All right, guys, but I think that's everything to cover for this one. I have really high hopes for Three Houses, and I hope it does extremely well. For me, I am as optimistic as you can be. I have a firm belief that this could be the best Fire Emblem game, and I've made a video about talking about all of that, so I'm not going to go into it here. But I just like the direction the game's going, and it's so different and so fresh, and the avenues where the game could go. Like we just talked an hour about it. It could go everywhere, so I believe in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a bright future for this game, I hope. Just hope that they keep it up.
I'm not gonna keep my hopes up. Because I don't want to like get them too up, and then it just crashes and burns. I'm like, oh, well. But I do have hopes for the game. I am gonna keep one eye open, and I hope it does well.
All right, I guess that's it. If anybody made it to the end of this, drop a, I don't know, Black Ego. I don't know.
No, drop Breeding Simulator. in the
Breeding
comments
Simulator.
below.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Breeding
Oh,
Simulator
yeah.
2019.
Yes, Breeding Simulator 2019. Put that in the comments section.
Thank you.
But yeah, this was Nimious. Hope you guys enjoyed. And thanks everyone for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely.